What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Yankees Avenue Show on the Yankees Avenue YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Patrick Hennessy. That's Dan Rourke. Dan, how we feeling post ALDS Game 2?
All right. Well, it is now 25-ish minutes since I had my what some therapists might call a mental breakdown. I've since level-headed just a little bit. And I guess I'm probably in the middle of, the two ends of this where you have incredibly optimistic Yankee fans and you have incredibly pessimistic Yankee fans. I was leaning towards the pessimistic side, like I said about 20 minutes ago. It is still a series tied at 1. It's not like a lot of people are acting like we're down 3-0, like all of a sudden, oh, the series. I've seen so many comments saying the series is over. Those people should just shut the fuck up and stop watching Yankee baseball. Because if that's your mindset, like don't even watch the game. What's the point if you know they're going to lose? So I'm nowhere near that. But at the same time, man, this was a tough loss today. It really was. And, we'll get into it, but it falls solely and entirely on the offense. Nobody else, not the pitching, not Aaron Boone, not the bullpen, not the starter. The offense. The offense is at fault.
Listen, Dan, I'm going to say, I think we're kind of on the same wavelength as far as that goes. I mean, there's a lot of people being very positive, which, to be honest, I do want to make this clear. Me and Dan don't really talk before hitting record, just for the sole purpose of like getting our true reactions. I kind of was expecting you to be like extremely positive, right? Extremely optimistic, just based on like how you've been going. And I thought I was going to be extremely pessimistic, but over like the last 30 minutes or so, I've definitely cooled down and found myself somewhere in the middle, not too positive, but also not too negative. There's definitely a lot of concerns from the Yankees today, right? But I think also I'm not going to let those concerns blind me from the fact that this is still a very good team that has the potential of walking into Cleveland this weekend and winning both games and not having to play a game 5. So I think that there's a lot of things that we can break down from this game, but also at the end of the day, whatever we did see from this game can totally be flipped 180 tomorrow and Sunday, and we could forget this ever happened, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people kind of misunderstand the way I am when it comes to, optimism or just having a positive outlook. Some people look at me and think I'm Yankee boy and that I only see the glass half full side of things. No, that's not necessarily the case. The way I am is I'm pessimistic about results, optimistic as hell about the future or what could come, right? So as for today's game, we lost 4-2. That is terrible. One of the most disappointing postseason losses outside of the Boston loss last year that I can remember in my Yankee watching era. But where the optimism stems from is, once again, the series is tied at 1. We have Luis Severino going tomorrow, which, he's in a spot right now where he looks as good as he's ever looked in his MLB career. And while the offense today is something to be, incredibly frustrated about, once again, they are the reason we lost this game. I don't look at it as, what's going to come in the future. I mean, a big part of it, and I know this may sound silly as hell, is it's tough as hell to hit a 1 o'clock day game in October with the shadows. That really is a factor. And while majority of the time, yes, they looked bad, if the Donaldson ball to left, that line drive, what would have scored 2 runs, breaks our way, then, we're looking at a totally different game, right? So, I mean, we really didn't catch any breaks today, which oftentimes, to win in the postseason, you got to have some breaks go your way. We didn't have that happen. But yeah, I mean, it's today was frustrating. It really was. But yeah, I'll stick to my same prediction that I said, in our ALDS preview, Yankees in 4. And there's really no reason for me to feel otherwise than that because we got 7 in the bump tomorrow. And then we got Garrett Cole again in game 4. And
Sure.
outside of maybe one guy, I'm really not concerned about this offense, which I think we'll get to at some point. But
Yeah, no, we could talk about that right now. Just because I mean, after today, like I look at the Yankees lineup, right, and I kind of look at it on paper. And I'm not gonna lie, like I start to question myself, like, yo, you know how sometimes like we look back at lineups that we thought were really good in the moment, and we look back on it and we're like, yo, what were the Yankees doing with that? I'm not gonna lie, I sat on my phone today, looked at the box score, and I said, yo, like if you look at the Yankees lineup on paper, this is one of those lineups that we might look back on paper in a couple years and be like, yo, the Yankees really had Oswaldo Cabrera in the 5 hole for ALDS game 1. And now, like I'm looking at the Yankees lineup, and it's like, yo, they're the 2 through 5 hitters today, let's say, were the only ones that I necessarily like trust to put up big at bats, right? I'm looking at Rizzo, Glaber, Stanton, Donaldson. And then after that, we're looking at Oswaldo, who I'm kind of viewing as an instant out. IKF, who's been decent, but still I don't view him as like an impact bat, right? Trevino, who's struggled significantly, Bader, who it seems like he's kind of turned into like an all or nothing approach type of guy out of nowhere, and then obviously Judge, who's been MIA for the entire series so far. So it's really frustrating because now I'm like looking at this lineup on paper and I'm questioning to myself, and I don't think it's a ludicrous thing to be questioning if we've overhyped this Yankees lineup at all.
I don't feel that way outside of one guy. I don't want to come off, I keep saying one guy like I'm picking on him. No, but it's the one you first mentioned, Oswaldo Cabrera. And that's something to do with his ability or skill. But I think if there's one place, maybe I and Yankee fans in general overlooked is that being a rookie in the postseason, it is a factor. I mean, like we talked about, once again, going back to the ALDS preview we did, the inexperience of Cleveland. I may have failed to mention that about Oswaldo Cabrera. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems that there is some yips there, just a little bit. I mean, the defense has looked solid. That play in left wasn't so much his fault, really, just like a miscommunication. But yeah, I mean, the offense, I can't really disagree with you all that much. I mean, it did pretty much seem, even that good at bat he worked against Class A, it seemed like ultimately it would result in a strikeout or just some sort of out. So Oswaldo, that may turn into a conversation of should Matt Carpenter get a start, whether that comes from Stanton getting a spot in the outfield or Carpenter even maybe, who knows, playing right.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
And Carpenter got his first at bat in 2 months, and he didn't necessarily look too bad, to be honest.
Yeah, no, he looked fine. And regardless of if he looked bad or if he looked like the best hitter on earth, like I really don't care. It's one at bat. But I mean, as for the rest of the lineup, though, I mean, IKF outside of that first inning error he had, he's looked pretty solid this series. Trevino, like the catcher spot, I mean, I don't really pay all that much attention to because at the very least, I consider those two to be able to hold their own, Trevino and Higashioka. And then at least one or not or two, but at least one of the bats most of the time is going to be replaced by a pinch hitter, right? So, yeah, man. I mean, the lineup, I'm not as concerned as you, definitely not. But if I had to focus all of it into one like spot, any concern I would have, it would be Cabrera. Which also, last point on the topic, Benintendi coming back all of a sudden has me a lot more excited than it does a few days ago because I remember saying like, well, what happens when he comes back? Because Oswaldo's tearing the cover off the ball. Now it's like, yo, is he definitely gonna be ready by ALCS game 1? Like, I hope,
but you got to get
so.
there first. You know what I mean? It's like
I know, yeah. And I wasn't even saying that in terms of but yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, also we're kind of like looking at the lineup, and I think one thing that we definitely have to address is Aaron Judge. Judge has probably been, I'm gonna say he's looked worse than Oswaldo. I'm gonna say through the first 2 games of the ALDS, I think that he's looked the worst out of any hitter in the Yankees lineup. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say. And I'm kind of spinning my own narrative right now. And I hate to say it, I hate to be that guy. But if we lose this series and Aaron Judge doesn't show up at all, I'm like fully going to be one of those guys who it's going to be like, I don't care that he hit 62 home runs this year. Like none of that will matter to me. His MVP season will not matter to me. If we get bounced in the first round of the playoffs by the Guardians with Aaron Judge not doing it, and not only not showing up, but also being like astronomically bad at the top of the order. I couldn't care less about this historic season. I couldn't care less about him breaking the home run record because October is what matters, right? October is what they play for the entire season. So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna discredit the 2022 season, but I'm gonna look at it differently.
All right. Well, I was on my way to saying I can't really disagree with you too much. That last part, a little bit of a stretch for me. I mean, I can't really acknowledge how good of a year he had.
I won't care about it. I won't care about it. It's over.
But yes, if the Yankees get bounced and he just doesn't show up the series, that's
all I will remember.
That will be
to be
bad.
honest with
and
you.
that part is what I agree with. That's totally fair. Now, as for we're 2 games in. I think anybody who's worried about Judge, I think you're absolutely insane. You're wasting your time. But the way I was looking at it was, and I started to think about it early on in game 2 when the Yankees were up 2-0 and Judge was looking bad. It's like, well, the Yankees are winning. It hasn't hurt them. It's fine because at some point he will turn it around. Now that we have lost the game, and if you had normal Aaron Judge from 2022, it's probably like
you probably win this game.
We're probably in a much happier mood right now, right? So with that in mind, if we do go on to lose this series, I can't say you're crazy for that, Pat. And I think a lot of people will feel that same way to where if that happens and Judge doesn't show up, that will be what a lot of people remember. And then what happens in free agent negotiations, right? I mean, I obviously still want him back 100%. And I do feel like he will turn it around. I'm sure he'll turn it around. Hopefully it comes as soon as tomorrow. But in the rare world, and I want to emphasize rare, like I don't see this continuing at all. But if it were to continue, that's pretty bad, man. That can't happen. So
yeah, I mean, I hate to keep bringing up like 2020 Giancarlo Stanton, right? But it's kind of like the inverse of that, right? Like Stanton missed like almost the entirety of the season, and was kind of like looked at as a complete failure. Then he has an insane postseason and completely spins the narrative. You could even do that with like I'm not gonna say 20. I don't know. I don't know. Either way,
Well, I
what
know
I'm
what you're
saying is like
saying.
Judge has the possibility to like completely. I'm not gonna say completely discredit his historic season, but it's like it will be a damper on it for sure. And I think that that's all people will remember.
For sure on that part. But as for, being the opposite of Stan, I wouldn't say total opposite, maybe like semi, because I don't think we should dismiss that Judge hasn't been, while he hasn't been great, he hasn't been awful in the playoffs either, career speaking. He's been better than mediocre. He's been above league average. He's been solid. I would say that's how
There's
you
been a
describe
couple
Judge.
years where it was like bad. Like 2020 was
We can
really
go
bad.
through it. I mean,
Yeah.
2017 struggled early on against Cleveland.
Yeah.
Actually had the good wild card game, though. He was solid in that, but had some big hits against Houston. 2018 had his best postseason to date, had like an OPS of like 1.2, I'm pretty sure, in whatever that was, like 6 games or 5 games
5, yeah, something like
with
that.
the wild card. 2020 or 2019 was solid, had some big hits. Power wasn't exactly there. 2020, to this point, the worst postseason of his career, yet still hit 3 game tying home runs.
Yeah.
And obviously 2021. That's what it's really going to come down to, though, is, and I said this a lot in the last episode, the moments, overall stats in a series. That ultimately isn't really, I feel like, what we Yankee fans will take home with us. It's what do you do in the bottom of the ninth, or what do you do, in a big clutch spot with runners in scoring position. As far as I can remember over these 2 games, he hasn't really had that big spot. It's been more so, I think, for the most part, I don't think there's really been anybody on base for him, or has
Well,
there been?
no, but that's what I was gonna kind of lead into here, and it's a perfect segue. I think tomorrow night, for game 3, Aaron Judge should not be leading off.
No.
I would love for him to be in the 2-hole. I just would love
Disagree
it.
with
I mean,
that. That's way too soon of an overreaction. I mean, you can't be changing
I
the
don't
batting
think
order. I don't
so.
think of it. It's been 2 games, man, because that would imply you're concerned about Judge, unless you're rearranging the lineup in terms of
I don't think it's a
production of other
problem.
players, and you think that should be rearranged.
But yeah, but
Okay,
why is that saying that like I'm concerned about Aaron Judge just because I think he might be better off in the 2-hole? If Judge is struggling like this much, it's like maybe you don't want him leading off. Maybe it'll take a little bit pressure off of him
okay. See,
to be in the
no, no,
two
no.
hole.
This is the part where I think I really am far away from Yankee fans. Is it is only 2 games? Like, this is not an indicator of what's to
Two
come with
games
Judge.
in a 5-game series.
No, I understand, but it's a 2 game sample size of a player that played 158 games this year and was
Yeah,
amazing. Over 700 games in his career and is one of the best Yankees of all time.
we can't act
overreact
like
to
he was
2
great to
games.
end. We can't act like he was great to end the season though.
But that was all because of the 62 home run chase, and he was hardly getting any pitches to hit. It's
still
no,
happened. I mean, dude,
no,
but that's
no,
my
but
thing
that's
though,
not,
right?
That's not like. But hold on, if you're saying that because Judge, whether you want to say he couldn't handle the pressure, that it got to him a little bit of 62, that doesn't translate
That's what
to me
you
to the.
just said.
No, I'm saying you as in general, and I did not just say that at all.
You
I'm
said
saying
the chase for 62.
no. But I didn't finish my point. I'm saying if you think that translates to not being able to hit in the postseason, like he can't handle the clutch, that I'll completely disagree with because we have seen him handle the clutch a lot. Now, I'm not saying
I
you're
don't think
saying
anybody's
that.
saying that.
Oh no, not you in particular, but
No,
you
I'm not
cannot
talking.
disagree with other people are absolutely saying that about Judge, which that is absolutely ridiculous.
I don't care what other people say. All I'm saying is that Judge is struggling right now. Like that, there's no
He is,
if,
but it's
ands, or
2
buts
games.
about
Are
it.
you going off a 2 game sample size to move Judge in the
Yes,
order?
bro. In the postseason, that's all that I could do. And yo,
Where do you want
let's
to move
not
him?
no, but let's not say like I'm not acting like yo, we have to push Judge down to 6 because he's struggling, bro. Moving him down to the 2-hole is not any sort of like knock on him.
Who do you
Why
want leading
are we
off?
acting like I don't know Rizzo maybe?
I don't see.
Bro, it's not
I don't
that
see the positive
crazy
in
of
that
an
change.
idea.
Well, I mean,
It's not like
whether
we're
or not you think it's
punishing
crazy,
Judge.
I personally, I wouldn't do it after 2 games. Now, if you say a
You wouldn't, but
series,
maybe I would.
that's fine. No, that's fine.
You gotta
I
get to the
respect your
next series
opinion.
first. But
Well, yes,
yo,
but if I lose this series by banking on the production of Aaron Judge, that's not my problem. That's Judge's problem. I mean, you absolutely can rely on him. You at least
no,
you would assume you can rely on him because he's
that's the
Aaron Judge, had one of the
Yankees.
greatest
No,
seasons of all time.
no. That's the Yankees' problem. You can't blame that on Judge. The Yankees shouldn't be solely relying on Aaron
If Aaron
Judge
Boone
to be
continues
the
to lead
guy.
off Aaron Judge, that is not going to be his question to answer at the end of the year. Absolutely not. It comes individually on Judge, which it's one of those things where you just have to rely on him. You simply have no choice. Especially when we talk about the overall production of this lineup. Like, how concerned did you mention you were before? You know what I mean? Like, with the entire lineup as a whole. Like, there's really not too many guys to replace him. If there were, then all right, a couple games down the line, I'd agree with you. But dude, 2 games in, I'm good. And I'm not taking my anger out on you and just individually, but like as a whole, a lot of Yankee fans are making this more than just struggling in 2 games. He's been pitched well too. He hasn't hit the ball. And I acknowledge, bro, this is a problem. And he's pretty much, I almost look at, if there's one offensive figure to look at to blame, it's him for game 2, losing this game. But as for it being an indicator going forward, I mean, it's 2 games. I really don't think we can take anything from it.
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen,
Then
I don't
why would
think
you change
so
in the
either.
lineup?
Dude, because why not experiment? Dude, because clearly this isn't working through 2 games.
Pat, oh man, come on, dude. We were going into today feeling really good about this offense, man. Game 1 was great, even though we only scored 4 runs.
But I don't understand why it's a big deal to you. Like, why is it really a big deal to move Aaron Judge from leadoff?
Why is it a big deal for you to want to move him from leadoff?
I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm saying, like, yo, maybe you experiment and change the order a little bit.
I just disagree. That's all.
Okay, no,
but I
you're
respect
acting like
your
it's
opinion.
A huge deal. It's not a huge deal.
No, Pat. I mean,
I think that it couldn't
if
hurt.
I have a take, I anticipate I'm going to be passionate about it. It's a take.
No,
like
because because the thing is, I think that you think just because I'm considering, yo, maybe you put Judge too. I feel like you think that I'm like, yo, well, Judge sucks at leadoff, so now you have to move him down the order. That's not what it is.
No, I just think it's an overreaction.
Yo, what's up, guys? Dan here. Brief interruption to let you know that our friends over at Best Jersey Throwbacks are having an insane deal. Buy 3, get 1 free sale for a limited time. They have all our favorite Yankee players like Aaron Judge, Derek Jeter, Oswaldo Cabrera, and many, many more. Also, have other MLB teams as well. So if you're looking for players like Shohei Ohtani, Julio Rodriguez, and many more, you also got NBA jerseys, NFL, NHL, and even custom jerseys as well. So why spend over $150 on jerseys when you can buy them for $50 or less at bestjerseythrowbacks.com and get 4 jerseys for the price of 1? They provide an affordable buying experience for fans passionate about their favorite players and teams. Your purchase also comes with a tracking number and 24-hour customer service. Click the link in the description to check them out. You will not regret it.
Yo, Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone's one thing that I really do want to discuss because it's something that I'm super passionate about from these first 2 games. And I feel like you're going to disagree because I know you're a Boone guy. You've kind of turned into a little bit of a Boone guy. But I think that these first 2 games of the playoffs, overreaction, have been piss poorly managed, especially game 2. Game 2 was horrible. Probably like one of the worst managerial performances of Boone's Yankee career. Now, let me just say this, first of all. The over managing as far as like the bullpen arms go, despicable. I just don't understand like why we're playing matchups with Miles Straw, and Austin Hedges. Like these are guys that like Wandy Peralta can pitch to a righty in that scenario, right? You know what I mean? So it's like we don't have to keep bringing in relievers in the middle of an inning just for the sake of, Clay Holmes has a little bit better numbers against a righty. Look, I hate playing that game, and Boone does it all the time. Second of all, the fact that Aaron Boone threw in the towel in the bottom of the 10th inning of a 2-run game and not pinch hitting either Aaron Hicks or Marwin Gonzalez for Tim LeCastro, and basically throwing in the towel in that scenario and admitting to throwing in the towel in that scenario. Did you see his post-game comments?
Yeah, I think that was kind of taken out of context.
Dude,
but I know what you're saying about.
For anyone who didn't hear it, he said it was a little bit of a wash of an at-bat there, so I didn't want to burn the player in regards to why he didn't pinch hit for Tim LeCastro.
Can I ask, though,
That's
did you
bro.
listen to the quote or you just read it? Because he had... Well, I agree. I think LeCastro should have been pinch hit for there. It wasn't him throwing in the towel. Like that's saying he,
bro, to say it was a wash of an at bat.
No, but did you listen to the quote? What he went into majority of the time, and I understand, leading with that quote on the tweet that gets the most clicks, and he did say that, yes. But majority of the conversation when he was responding was him saying how righties see cutters better, and I guess that's what he was looking at with LeCastro versus Clase. Also, the options off the bench, Marwin Gonzalez or Aaron Hicks, aren't exactly that great either. And when you were going to probably pinch hit one of those guys, I figure it would probably be in a game that is able to be tied by a solo home run. That's the logic I think he's coming from. I just don't look at too much into that one quote that a lot of people are talking about. But I would have absolutely pinched it.
It's a bad look.
I do.
It's a bad look, bro.
I'm
just because
I don't care about bad looks. I care about winning games, and I think.
We're talking about this now, though. We're not talking about the game as a whole. We're talking about this one circumstance.
But it's not like if we had like Carpenter on the bench, all right, word. But it's like it's Hicks or Marwin Gonzalez.
Hicks is a huge improvement over Tim LeCastro.
Not necessarily. When
bro,
Tim
Hicks
LeCastro,
had a decent month of September.
No,
when was the last time Tim LeCastro got a hit, bro?
Yeah, but you could also, if you're trying to, play devil's advocate, Tim LeCastro could chop a ground ball to really any side of the field and then reach first because of his quick speed. And you also have the factor of he can apparently see cutters better from having hit it from the right side. But hold on, let's get this clear. I agree with you. I would have done a different move, but that's not what I'm going to really get on him all that much about. And can I talk about the bullpen now?
Well, can I just say one more thing about this? Like when you're like making the argument for Tim LeCastro to be like, oh, he could chop a ball anywhere and get on base, that's huge for us. I would have much rather preferred Boone say that, to be like, yo, maybe like we thought that like Tim LeCastro was a better matchup in this situation, maybe gave us a better opportunity to like get a guy on or something. That's not what he said. I would have preferred him say that to make us think it was a matchup thing.
I
But to
mean, he
say
did he
that
did
he
mention
didn't
his
want to
ability to
burn
get
a
on.
player, to say that he didn't want to burn a player because he viewed it as a wash of an at bat in a 2-run playoff game, that's my huge problem.
The
That's my huge
line that's
problem.
bad, I think, is more so to burn the player. That part is that's just ridiculous to say. I
That,
think
thank
like,
you.
and I agree with you on this. Like I said, like I am with you on that. They should have won a different angle with it. I just don't think that's like the end all be all criticism of Boone. The other one a lot of people have brought up, which I'm not sure you may have mentioned, the Tyone thing. How do you feel about
Oh
bringing
yeah,
him in?
can I touch on that really quick?
Yeah.
And then we could kind of break that down. The talent thing I view as something else that's pretty despicable. I like that word, despicable. Just because listen, 10th inning, tied game, 2-2. The way I viewed Tyone in the bullpen this series was as such, right? I viewed Tyone as maybe a guy you go with out of the bullpen in like the 14th inning of a tie game, right? Kind of like your final straw. You don't really have anyone left. You got to save the rest of the arms that you do have for later games. But to go with Tyone in the 10th inning, first career relief appearance, when you have Clark Schmidt in the bullpen, right? A guy who we've kind of like relied on pretty heavily in big situations. And then Tyone comes in. I'm not really blaming him because I mean the one run that he gave up to Jose Ramirez, that was a bloop single, and then the Yankees threw the ball all over the infield. The ball that Naylor hit was pretty hard hit, but whatever. I'm not blaming Tyone at all in this scenario. He's never relieved before. However, to bring in Clark Schmidt in relief of Jameson Tyone makes me sick to my stomach because why wouldn't you go with Schmidt first? I don't understand why you would go with Tyone first over Schmidt. If you have any like logic behind that, I'd love to hear it, but I can't understand it for the life of me.
Yeah, man. I know I don't really have much logic behind it. And I wasn't against Tyone coming in. I felt pretty good when, at least about him individually. But yeah, the main thing that was confusing about me just in general with Boone in this bullpen series or in this series with the bullpen was it seemed like as soon as a new pitcher was in, didn't it almost seem like immediately after somebody else was warming up.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, if you're putting in Tyone, which I can understand from the long game side of things, where you guys have been trading zeros for, innings on innings. You think, all right, this is going deep, no Manfred rule. This could go 4 or 5 innings, throw a starter out there. Tyone's been good this year. Okay. But when I guess the first guy got on that error or 2 errors, whatever happened in left field, immediately Clark Schmidt is warming. So at that point, if you don't have faith in Tyone, why not just start Schmidt from the get-go? So that's how I feel about Tyone. I think that was I pretty much I align with you on that for sure. But I also will say outside of that, though, I can't criticize Boone on his bullpen management prior because while, it may have been a little bit funky, sure, it worked. I mean, in entering the Tyone inning or outside of the Tyone earned run or unearned run, whatever that was, the Yankee bullpen threw 7 1/3 scoreless innings. And that includes Schmidt, Loaizaga, Peralta, Holmes.
The arms looked good, yeah.
And Trevino. The
Trevino,
bullpen
yeah.
has looked pretty damn awesome, actually, especially Clay Holmes, and I tweeted this out before. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't look at him as like 100% back, but he's definitely closer
He's like
to
70.
the guy he was in the first half, like a lot closer than he was a month or two
Sure.
ago. Yeah, maybe like 75, 8%, which is huge. Like we cannot undersell it. That is absolutely huge. So the bullpen has looked good. The Tyone decision, yeah, no, it was interesting, especially with the fact that Schmidt ended up coming in anyways.
But that's my thing, bro. Like it doesn't make sense, especially like I feel like we go through this with Boone so many times. Like, why are you gonna bring him in now when he was available before? You know what I mean? I feel like that's why he gets cute with it sometimes. And that's one thing that you brought up that I think is huge too. There's always seems to be a reliever warming when you already bring in another guy. It happened in ALDS game 1, right? Trevino was warming up in the bullpen right after you bring in Clay Holmes. So if you didn't necessarily trust Clay Holmes to come in that spot, why wouldn't you just bring in Trevino in the first place? It's a really weird scenario to me, and I don't know what it is. I view it maybe as over managing a little bit, if that's a term, but I can't say I hope it gets cleaned up for the rest of the series because I don't necessarily see that as any sort of possibility, given that this is what we've seen from Boone every year in the playoffs since coming here. So I don't know, bro. I still think that Tyone decision was horrible. And let me say this, I'm not putting it on Tyone whatsoever.
Yeah. Last thing in the bullpen, though. Wandy Peralta's a fucking dog, bro.
I love Wandy. Yo,
love him so much.
I love Wandy Peralta.
He is the man. Talk about
he's my closer.
One of the, and I feel kind of bad because On my YouTube recommended page the other day, man, it popped up and it was like a clip of the Pat and Dan show from way back when. And it was like, Wandy Peralta has been so bad. And I was like, man, let me just unrecommend that from my feed. But yeah, dude, he's been awesome. What a
He
catch
was rough
with better
for a little bit,
trades.
though.
Yeah, I mean, it was also, we had some attachment to Mike talking to, so like naturally we kind of be against him. But nah, yeah, man, he's been great. He had a damn good year too. I mean, I knew he was good this year, but when you really see the numbers when TBS throws him up on the screen, it's like, yo, he balled out this year. He really did. And so far in the ALDS, he's been awesome. The bullpen overall, I think the bullpen's actually a positive. It really is. And the only thing, and this is, I guess, to round everything out, like I said in the intro, ultimately it falls on the offense. We can blame Boone. We can blame, errors in the 10th inning, whatever. If the offense just did their job and scored, which it seemed like they were on their way to doing. I mean, that's Stanton 2-run homer in the first inning.
I thought dude,
that was almost,
you know what I viewed that as?
That gave me the vibes of the Didi Grand Slam.
Yeah, bro, I was gonna say yes.
That's insane if we're on the same wavelength.
100%. I viewed that as it.
So here's the way I thought it. Like Stanton hit the Grand Slam, went over the wall, and I was just like, in my head, I was like, all right, so we are just gonna coast the ALCS, and we'll see what happens against the Astros. And I mean, winning a series in 4 games would, in my opinion, still be kind of a breeze. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely a different vibe, I guess, than the first inning was. But the offense, man, I guess that's kind of like my main overall point as we, I assume, wrap up this episode. If the offense just did their job and scored, and a lot of that is, yes, with Aaron Judge, then we would have, been much happier on this episode. But once again, it is still a 1-1 series going to Cleveland tomorrow, which I'm pumped about that. There's no more fucking off days. Thank God, bro. Let's just play baseball 3 days in a row, which also means a lot of the Yankees Avenue Show for the people at home to be able to watch.
Yeah,
so
no,
that's kind of my overall thoughts and the feeling on the game.
No, I agree for sure. And listen, I hope that we didn't come off this episode as being like super like negative Nancy's. I don't think we did. But I do want to like make it very clear that like and I think I kind of like started off the whole episode by saying this, while there are a lot of aspects from today's game that were super discouraging and kind of like have given me a little bit concerns about this team, we can very easily show up to Cleveland and win both games and move on to the LCS and kind of like forget this happened. Exactly. So, however, I do think that it's important that we don't just like take that positivity that we still have and completely ignore what we saw today. You know what I mean? And that's why I do kind of like look at Judge struggling a little bit. And I do look at like the offense struggling as a whole. And I look at like the bullpen management, and it concerns me a little bit just because I don't want it to become a trend. Because if it becomes a trend for 1 or 2 more games, the season's over. So then that's why you say like, oh, like you can't view Judge as struggling because it's only 2 games. Well, if Judge struggles for 2 more games, that might be the end of the season. So that's why I'm not pushing the panic button, but it's like I'm looking at it and I see that it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like just to really emphasize so people know what type of fan I am irrational short term in terms of in-game. Like individual games, I will tweak about that. I will go nuts. They've almost had me end up in a loony bin before. Long term, though, I'm able to kind of take a step back and realize this series is still one that I would consider we're in the driver's seat for, where, yes, it's 1-1. We're going to Cleveland, sure. Their home field advantage, fine. Let's not forget we are still a much better team than the Cleveland Guardians. And if anything, with that being known going into this series, what I also know a little bit better now is that, no, our bullpen is legit. Our bullpen is more than capable with the proper management. Our bullpen is more than capable to get outs against whether it's Cleveland Guardians or I think in the Houston Astros or further down in October. So, yeah, I guess don't lose sight of how good this team still is just because we lost one random game, which, a lot of people predicted a 3-game
really
sweep.
Like a random game.
No, okay, I shouldn't say random game. That's silly. But I'm more so random in terms of I anticipate us winning in 4. So ultimately, a game 2 loss doesn't mean anything in the end. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
My series prediction from game 1 or before game 1 was Yankees in 4. Because what did I say? It's baseball, man. It's baseball. Yankees in 4, babe.
That, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, Dan. So I think that's gonna wrap things up for today. Listen, like we kind of talked about for the entire episode, not losing faith in the Yankees just because they lost game 2. The way I'm viewing it right now is the Yankees are playing a wild card series right now, right? Best of 3, win 2 games, you're moving on. And that's kind of like the bottom line here.
Exactly, man. Home field advantage for the other team ain't a threat when we, the Yankees, are the better team. Thank God there's baseball tomorrow, as in Saturday, a little Saturday nighttime baseball. Actually, real quick, Bob Costas, what were your thoughts?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't believe you forgot about this. I retweeted your tweet actually. I think
that was since deleted.
Worded it perfectly. Oh, really? Damn. Sorry to hear that. But I will say, Bob Costas going into the series, I viewed him as like a legendary announcer, right? Now I'm kind of like in the series. I can't stand Bob Costas, and I wouldn't be upset if I never heard him announce another Yankee game in my life. He doesn't stop talking. It's like, dude, I don't care about the 1924 World Series. I don't care what Mickey Mantle told you in 1962. It's enough. It's horrible, and it seems like no focus is ever on the game. Let it breathe.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's one of my, and still is one of my all-time favorite announcers, but without a doubt, man, he's past his prime. Like, I went into this series pumped when I saw he was on the call. I was like, hell yeah, Bob Costas. Because no matter what, his voice, and I guess that's the one thing he probably had going for him, it still is a big game feel. You know how we always associate, like, whether it's like Joe Buck, big
I don't
game
feel
feel.
that way anymore.
I do feel that way with Bob Costas, at least going into this series. But
Matt
yeah,
Bass
man,
version big game feel?
he's past his prime. I thought so till he went on ESPN. I don't know why. I wasn't a big fan of him on Sunday Night Baseball.
Matt Bass
But
version.
yeah, but real quick, you know, Costas, past his prime, legend, was way too like caught up in trying to set up a story and just like storytelling overall without like watching and commentating on the game right in front of him. And that's fine. Like I like, you know, going into like the history of the game and just, you know, little snippets here and there. But you got to do that like pre-pitch or like, you know, as it comes back from break. Just there's times and places for it, right? But it seemed like, man, a lot of it would bleed into the pitch. And, you know, I don't want to get into the whole Aaron Judge thing again, but maybe even you would agree here. Dog, he struck out like the first bat in ALDS game 1. And all of a sudden the whole conversation was like, oh, the pressure's getting to him. He's mentally fatigued. It's like, Bob, man, like, come on, take a break. But yeah, no, that's going to do it with this episode. Not sure how long we went. Hey, we'll be back with some positive vibes tomorrow or after game 3, because Yankees are going to win game 3. All right. Don't you agree,
100%.
Pat? Exactly.
I agree.
So,
bro, Sevy's going to shove. That's all that matters.
And Judge is going to fucking go deep.
Three times.
Spot.
3 times.
Out of the leadoff spot.
Put him in the 4-hole, bro.
Screw you. All right, that's gonna do this episode. Drop a like, drop a comment, rate, review, subscribe for you podcast folk. And yeah, that's gonna do it. See you guys next time. Let's go, Yankees.